It's Sal's Singles Shot.
You know, the Mets' biggest issue right now is their offense, specifically their top guys. Bichette having a rough start, but sometimes it takes a guy a little time to get acclimated in New York. It's time for Francisco Lindor to get going. He should be the one carrying this team in the absence of Juan Soto. We all know what Lindor is capable of, and I'm sure we'll see it again at some point when the calendar turns to May or June, but that's not good enough. Lindor is the longest tenured Mets star. He's been a catalyst for this team for years. This can't wait till May. The Mets need to get Lindor going now. And do you think that it's fair to ask that much of Francisco Lindor at this point?
Yeah, I mean, Sal, he's getting paid like a superstar. He is a superstar, a future Hall of Famer who should be stepping into the fold here, the vacancy left by Juan Soto. You know, I know he's got this whole sort of narrative going about how he never starts well. You know, I mean, last year he started pretty well. In fact, a couple of years ago before that, he started pretty well, too, first month or so anyway. And then in 24, he had a very poor start and then was second in the MVP voting. So, you know, it's not like you can turn on a switch, but I do want Lindor to get going here. And, you know, I know he has said, I think the Post quoted him today saying that the hamate injury is not a factor here. He's hit some balls hard, et cetera, et cetera. But you still, he's your name guy now in the lineup. You want to see him do more.
Yeah, to have no RBIs, to have, you know, be batting an atrocious batting average, I understand it. But, Sal, you're asking for something that just might not be available. And I'll ask you this. When do you really want Lindor hitting? Yes, obviously now, but aren't you going to need him at his absolute best when this team is pushing for a World Series? And we will forget about April. We will. And I understand that, you know, he has had trouble getting going at times, and you want it to be different. But I don't think it's that easy for baseball players. I think they are who they are. You're paying for the baseball card, the back of the baseball card, not for a specific month or two.
The problem is that they need him now. Well, if Soto were here, I'd be calling out Soto. As a matter of fact, I did that a couple of weeks ago. Yep. Soto's hurt. I'm not going to get on Bichette. I don't think that's fair now for the reasons that I mentioned before. I expect more. Hey, you want to be the superstar, the leader of this team? Enough with the slow starts. Not to mention that he's been even worse because the defense as well. There have been some getting picked off for first base. There have been some issues with Lindor.
It's been a slow start, but I really put no stock into this stuff, especially 10, 12 games into a season. Francisco Lindor is a guy, what has he missed, 10 total games in his Mets career? There might be a method to this madness where Francisco Lindor has to pace himself over the course of 162. It's not as if he's not trying to produce right now. Of course, he'd much rather be off to a better start, but I put such little stock into these starts because I want Francisco Lindor having a 2024-like season where he's carrying you down the stretch into the postseason, and he's a big game player. We know that in October. I can't put anything into this right now. If it means Lindor is going to put up representative numbers, which he's done every single year outside of one as a Met, I don't care how he starts the first 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have a Lindor-type year unless there's physical stuff going on. So, you know, yeah, I get it. But you do like, for the sake of narrative, and since we're living in the moment here, you do want him to kind of seize the day as well. And that's why this opportunity is.
Okay, but it's also not just about the moment here. I don't think I'm being crazy to say this. You know, the Mets, even in 2024, which was his best year, it took them to the last day of the year to get into the postseason. Yeah. Had he had a better start, maybe that wouldn't be the case. They missed the playoffs last year by a single game. If Lindor was better to start the year, maybe that would be different. He is a star. He's getting paid a lot of money to play from April on.
We can't put that on one guy, though. There are other guys on this team to step up.
Right, but he's the star right now.
Okay, so I was actually talking to Jerry Blevins about this before the show. I'm like, is there something he could do in the offseason to get yourself better prepared to get off to these good starts? And Jerry said for a guy who plays almost basically every single day, if you add more to your workload in spring training or earlier on, I know he was hurt this year in spring training, you don't know how that negatively affects you in the second half of the season. And maybe that is like a robbing Peter to pay Paul situation, which doesn't work out.
And I want to be clear. I respect the hell out of Francisco Lindor, not only because of the way that he plays the game, because he is a gamer. He will be out there. He's not making any excuses, so I respect that.
Plays hurt.
Yeah, plays hurt. That's exactly right. Doesn't matter. Right? Gave birth. Wife gave birth. He's out there the next day wanting to play. So I love all that about Francisco Lindor. I just, right now, you can see that this team is clearly struggling to hit. I'm going to go to the top. It was Soto. He's out. Lindor is the next guy there.